Welcome to the Mohawk Valley Sportswatch podcast this morning. I'm your host, as always, the coach, Rocky Crigliano. I got Pags in the waiting room. He'll be jumping on here in a minute. I also have the stat man. He'll be jumping on a few minutes after 9. Coach Medizas is down in Iona with his basketball team. They're playing down there in I think they played 2 games yesterday. They'll play 2 more today. They went 2-0 yesterday. They beat a really good team. Um, they beat Fordham Prep, who's always really good, and I think he said they beat a team from Vermont, an AAU team that was really good too. So coach will be was good to jump on, but they're just getting ready to start. So without further ado, let me get Pags on here. Pags, what's going on this morning?
Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Well, I got to tell you, I haven't been out till midnight in a long time.
Yeah, I heard someone kept you out late last night.
I was I got home and I sat down and I'm like, I just can't do it anymore. Like
Yeah,
that was late for me.
it was late. You know what? The time just kind of we didn't even realize what time it was.
No,
You
no.
know, it was
But
fun though. It was a good time.
yeah, it was a good time. We should have the stat man on here shortly.
Yeah, he's got mass or something, right? Is what he
Yeah,
said.
he'll be jumping on, and then I'm crossing my fingers that we have the voice of Coney Island, one of my all-time favorite guests, Mr. George Shea, at 9:30. So we'll see if
Yeah, he's a busy guy. Hopefully, he can make time for us. I mean, it'd be great to have him on. I mean, we always have great conversations with him, man.
well he messaged me back on Thursday and said yes, and then I messaged him on Friday just to confirm him, and I didn't hear back. So hopefully we'll get him on here shortly. So, but Oriskany season, we had Coach Enos on a few weeks ago. Came to an end yesterday.
Yep.
They got beat 4-0. The team they played, I mean, obviously everybody's good. Arkport,
Yeah, I've heard of
I
him.
never heard of them, but they beat them 4-0. And Oriskany had only 3 hits and 3 errors, which I think the errors is unlikely of Oriskany because they've been pretty smooth in the field, but a great run for him.
Well, fantastic. I mean, you can't look at that and say anything but a great season for those guys because I mean that was. I mean, for such a small school too, you know. I don't know what their class sizes are, but for them to go that far into states, into the state title game, I mean, they got a lot to be proud of, and they got a lot of guys coming back.
Yeah, I feel like Oriskany's always been good in baseball. Even when I was in school, Oriskany was always good. Tommy Meese from Rome was the head coach there for a little while, and they were really good. I just feel like baseball, they've always been good. Football, when they before they combined with Westmoreland, they had some good teams back in the day. When I was at Sequoia, like the '80s, the '90s, the early 2000s, Oriskany, like football, was just always known for big linemen,
Yeah,
a tough
toughness.
running back, and they were just going to run the football.
Yeah, yeah, they were
Um,
just hard nosed football, just tough football.
yeah, but congratulations to them. I know they'll be back, young team, and I'm sure we'll come baseball season again. We'll be talking Oriskany baseball. So congratulations to Coach Enos and the in Oriskany.
Yeah, I
Caitlin,
think the JV team actually is doing pretty well. I think they finished undefeated, so they got more coming up.
yeah, I'm not going to be surprised if they're right back where they were, in
Yeah,
the state final 4. So, Pete, we've talked a lot of Caitlin Clark every week. Every
yeah.
week on this show, we've talked women's basketball, which, again,
We
we
talked it
really,
last night at the bar, right?
yeah, we did. We
I
did.
mean, how many? I mean, if you told me we'd be sitting at a bar talking about women's basketball, I would say I don't know about that, Rock. I mean, we might mention it, but I mean, we had full conversations about it. And you're naming players, you're naming girls players that you like watching. I mean, that's phenomenal.
Chris Childers from Full Ride, when I had him on the rock pile, we were talking in the very first segment. I brought up women's sports. I brought
Yeah,
up, Caitlin Clark, and he was like, this was like the 3rd or 4th show he did that day, and all they wanted to talk about was women's basketball. And he's
yeah,
like, this is great.
it is great.
So the big news, obviously, is Caitlin Clark gets left off the Olympic team.
Yep.
And I guess when she was at Iowa, she wasn't able to make the tryouts or something like that. I didn't read the full article. But some of the names that made the team. So Diana Taurasi made it. It's her 6th Olympics. She's set to turn 42 on Tuesday. Brittany Griner is on that team. Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, um, Nafisha Collier, uh, Jewel Lloyd, Chelsea Gray, Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, Sabrina Onescu's on there, Kylie Copper, and then Alyssa Thomas, who I'm not going to lie, Pete, I don't know a lot of those people. Obviously, I know Brittany Griner, I know
Yeah,
Asia
I
Wilson.
know a lot of those names. I mean, but it does surprise me that she's not on it. I mean, when you look at those names, there's a whole. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of girls that that there's a couple of girls I don't recognize their names, but like just star power, that team's loaded. But I don't know how you don't find a spot for her, especially with all
Well,
the attention she's gotten. You would think that just putting her on that team is going to draw so much more attention to that women's team. You know what I mean?
I still think, and listen, I love Diana Taurasi. She was one of my favorite college players of all time. I still think there's a lot of jealousy. And even the veterans, the
Yep.
Brianna Stewarts, the Taurasi, I still think there is. Listen, I get it. The women's team is not going to lose. I don't think they've lost in 100 and something games. They're going to win another gold medal.
Yep.
But it just reminds me of when Christian Laettner was the college kid that made the Olympic team.
Yep.
And I remember from watching the Jordan special there, that One Last Dance, and they said Jordan was like, "Don't put the college kid in. Don't put him in with us."
Right.
Something crazy.
Right.
But if you want to fill the arena, you want marketing, you want ratings, you want all that. How do you not put her on the team?
Well, the only thing I'm thinking of is that they think it's a distraction, right? I mean, maybe they think that putting her on the team is going to cause because we've seen it already. We've seen that the problems that is caused in the WNBA with for whatever reason she's getting the cold treatment, the cold shoulder, right? And I wonder if the same thing is going to happen if they. I mean, I know it probably will, but now you have her on the Olympic team, and you have these girls saying that we worked so hard for so many years, you have to earn it, and now you just walk into the league and you get added to this team because of your name recognition. I can see that causing a problem, you know, in the inner
Yeah,
circles, but work it out, figure it out, put these girls together. I mean, these girls are going to be together for however long in the Olympics. I think they'll figure it out. I think they'll realize that she's a good teammate and she's a valuable asset to this team.
I mean, I get it. If she wasn't there for the tryout and you got the team already picked, I mean, listen, I get it. It's her first year. She's going to be on that Olympic team for a while.
Oh
She's going
yeah,
to be a star in this league for a long time.
I agree.
But every game, and again, I'm checking WNBA scores. I
Right,
never used to check WNBA scores.
right.
I check scores to see what she does.
Yep.
And I think it was just last week they moved her game again to a bigger arena, and they had 20 something thousand people, I think they said, which was the largest WNBA crowd.
Yep.
So as much as like Angel Reese, who I think is a huge hater,
Yeah.
and Tarazi and all these girls don't want to admit it, she's the hottest ticket in the WNBA. She's probably,
She
Pete, the
is.
hottest ticket in the NBA/WNBA right now in the game.
Right. And people are watching your games because of her. Like I understand a little bit of it and saying, you know what, you have this young kid who comes in here and thinks that she's all she it's all about her and she's the one that's brought all the attention here and she's making all the money. We've been here for years and we're the pioneers of this thing and no one's looking at us and hey, we're pretty good. I get that. But at the same time, you should appreciate it and you should embrace it and say, we're gonna make more money. We got more eyes on us. This is good for our sport, and ultimately it's gonna be good for us as well. So I don't understand it. I mean, I understand a little bit of it because even with the NBA, you see this with guys coming in. They get the, the rookies got to earn it, right? But it's
Oh,
not so. I don't know. It just seems like it's so out there with the women's game right now. It's just not. It's not the way you want to have the attention on you.
no, I think it's unfair what they're doing. I really do. I mean, I don't remember, but then again, you're talking when Jordan played in the 80s. I mean, I was only 9, 10 years old, but some people were saying, like, even when Jordan came into the league, like, they don't remember all this hype. Now, I remember when LeBron came into the league, from high school, there was a lot of
Yep.
hype. All his games were being televised. It was all, you know, everywhere you turned in sports, it was LeBron when he came out of high school.
Right.
But this girl's putting 20,000 people. in the stands. So what that she's making millions? Like, if it wasn't for her, now there's still a lot of big names, right? We were talking
Oh
about
yeah.
Cameron Brink last night, who I think's a star.
Yep.
Angel
Well, we
Reese,
saw her at the bar, right? She was there.
yeah, that girl looked just like her. Um, Angel Reese is going to be a star. I mean, there's a lot of good
Yeah.
players that were in that class, but I mean, come on, you have to admit, if it wasn't for Caitlin Clark this past year, how many people would have followed basketball as closely? I wouldn't have. I mean,
No.
unless you're a
No.
diehard WNBA fan or college girls basketball fan, you would, but I wouldn't have.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And how about what was said this week? The ESPN analyst who made the comments about her. I'm not going to repeat them because I don't appreciate what he said, but he called her a white
Yeah,
girl essentially, and
Pat McAfee should be thrown out of
I
ESPN.
I don't understand how he survives this.
He's had, and again, I'm not going to knock the fact when he left FanDuel to come to ESPN. Like, there was a lot of ESPN big name people that were cut. Some people said because McAfee came over, because of his salary, they had to make room for him. Like, I get it. He got a great deal. I'm not gonna knock him,
Right.
but I never thought he was a good fit on College Game Day. Some people think I'm crazy.
Yeah,
Some
I never
people
liked him either.
some people like him. Some people think he's going to be your next Lee Corso. I don't like him just because I think he does what he wants to do, which I think is good, but it's got to be to a certain extent.
Right. Right.
And you have ESPN executives that are getting fired over Pat McAfee.
Yep.
And you could say it on here. There's no beat button. He called her a white bitch.
Right.
He should face some consequences. I'm not saying they're going to throw him off, but this Pat McAfee stuff where he says what he wants, no matter who's in front of him, you got to discipline this guy, suspend him, do something, because that was horrible. I know he didn't mean it the way he said it, because then he
No,
came
he,
out,
he
he
actually meant it as a
apologized.
He actually meant it as a compliment, which is weird.
Right, right, he
But
did.
you don't do that. I mean,
No,
that's just disrespectful to her.
I've never been a big fan of him, even when he started on Game Day, and I think they're bringing him back for another year. I love David Pollock.
Yeah, me too.
I thought Pollock was great with those guys, but I like those shows where, like, you hear Herb Street break down the game. McAfee really doesn't ever break anything down. He just is the guy that jumps in the rivers and the water and does
Yeah,
the
yeah. And
field goal kick.
he's loud and he's obnoxious and you don't know what's ever going to come out of his mouth. It's like,
No,
to me, it's like he reminds me of a punk. Honestly, you know what I mean? It's like nobody wants to control him and say, you know what? It's not funny what you're saying. You know what I mean? It's 'cause a lot of things he says are rude and disrespectful. And it's like, if you want to watch that's not, most of
yeah,
us guys are watching it. Let's talk football. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the different aspects of the game. That's why we enjoy watching Game Day and those shows where they talk about those things. And he's just one of those. I think he's one of those personalities. That's what it is. He's a personality, and that's what they're attracted to right now, is bringing eyes to the things, because he's loud, and whether it's good content or bad content, it's attracting people to watch him, and that's why they have him on.
the other thing, and I don't really ever get into like the politics and all that. I mean, whether you're white, black, whatever religion and all that, I really don't care. I've never really
Right.
dove into that at all on the radio or on here. But some people are saying because she's a white straight lady, the NBA predominantly is African American.
Yep.
Do you think that has anything to do with it, or you just think because she came out a star with all the hype? Like, people are throwing the race in there. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, does it?
No, I don't think it does. I don't know. I don't see how it does, but who knows what people think? I mean, I don't know. I don't see how, like, what are they arguing now? That the NBA, the WNBA is a predominantly black league, so now we have a white girl coming in and ruining our thing? Is that what they're trying to say? I don't know.
Well, they're saying that, and they're saying because she's a white straight lady. Um, but I don't think that has anything to do with it. I just think she's coming in the
Yeah, I don't.
stars, making all that money. And I'll tell you what, I think she's handled herself is about as
Yes.
good as she can handle it. I mean, she's got an attitude on the court. There's no doubt about
Oh
it.
yeah.
But I
Yeah.
but I like that, right?
Yep.
But the other night I was watching some of the game, and it was like an inbound play, or a side out at half court, and the girl that was guarding her was like Gardner a little extra tight, pushing her
A little
around a little
aggressive,
bit.
yep.
So what does Caitlin Clark do? Just stands there and then gets the ball, dribbles down, and bangs a logo three. And it's like, this girl's good. She just continues to play,
Right.
even though there's a lot of naysayers that are out there that I think want to see her fail. Because I
Yep.
think that's the sad part of it is there's people out there, even in our world, right in the business world,
Sure.
people want to see others fail.
Yep.
And I
People
never understand that.
well, how many times do you see people go to the fire to watch the house burn down, right?
Yeah.
Or they go to the accident scene to watch the person to watch the accident. That's just unfortunately, it's the nature of how we're built, and it creates a story. But I think for her, like, you're right. You haven't heard her say anything.
No.
I mean, she
No.
hasn't said a word about anything. She's just gone out and played. And I think she knows that, she's struggling a little bit. So she's trying to just do her thing. But like, I think this season, she's probably going to remain quiet. But I think eventually you're going to really start seeing her. She's gonna put on some weight. She's gonna put on some muscle. And she's gonna really, because right now she's getting kind of beat up out there a little bit, right? Because a lot of these girls are bigger and stronger than her. I mean, I saw there was a screen that she ran into. I don't know if you saw it. I was all over social media. She got destroyed. I mean, she just didn't see the person. She walked right into the screen and just fell to her knees. And she's got to get bigger. And I think over the summer and stuff she will, because she's had no time. I mean, it's insane how you get drafted, you play the college game, you get drafted, and then you're on a WNBA team on the court in a week or so. There was really no transition for her at all. So I think next year you'll even see her shine even more.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, she played in the national championship game, a month ago, and here a month later, she gets drafted number one. She's trying to adapt to, the WNBA game, and like everybody says, it's a much more physical game.
Yep.
The only thing I'm a little surprised at, I knew she was going to get pushed around. Listen, if she shoots the ball well, she can go off for 30 every night.
Yep.
She's still averaging over 16 a game, almost a triple double, assist and rebounds. Is the turnovers.
Yeah.
When I pull up the stat line, I always scroll over and I'm like, well, what's she turning over this time? And it's 8 turnovers, 9 turnovers, 10 turnovers. So I think she's got to get the pace down a little bit, but I don't think her team's very good.
No, I think that's the thing. It's a combination of her trying to make things happen, and she doesn't have the greatest team around her. So she's forcing. I mean, it's a combination thing. The game's faster. She's trying to make things happen, and she doesn't have the talent around her to really to help her. So she's kind of trying to do it on her own, which is gonna that's just she's gonna force things, and you're gonna have turnovers. I mean, that'll come with time, but I think if she's on a bad team, I mean, if she's the only one trying to make things happen, the turnovers are gonna be high.
Yeah, I think next year, I think she averages 20 or more a game.
Yeah, I think next year she starts realizing that, you know what, maybe I shouldn't distribute the ball as much and try to force these turnovers. I'll just shoot the ball.
Well, and maybe the Olympics, in all honesty, I mean, maybe the Olympics will be a time where she can actually rest. I
Yeah.
mean, if she played in the Olympics, you think about it, she'd go from the long college season,
Oh yeah.
to WNBA, to the Olympics. That's a lot of basketball in the course of a year.
Well, the thing I don't understand is, so they had the Olympic team, right? And then they also announced the 3-on-3 team.
Yes,
Hear about that?
yes.
How come she's not on that team? How is she not on any of these teams?
I don't know how they picked that, but I know that Haley Van Lit,
I
I
mean,
think it's
Britt
and Cameron Brink, and then
Cameron
there's a
Brink is on
couple
it.
other girls.
Yeah.
Cameron Brink and Haley been on it for the last couple years,
Yep.
but I don't know how they picked
Yeah, I don't know either.
how they did that. But yeah, I'm surprised. But she'll be back next year. I mean, she's still averaging close to 17 a game.
Yeah, that's for first
This
season. I
year
mean,
for her first year. I mean,
yep.
it's still good numbers.
Yep.
Um, did you see that? What was I going to say? We were talking basketball. I lost my train of thought. I mean, the NBA game twos tonight.
Yep.
Celtics in Dallas, and I was looking at a crazy stat line. Boston is like 37-4 at home.
Yeah, they've been remarkable. I mean, they've had a great season, and everyone's talking about, wasn't especially in the playoffs how they played. They didn't play anybody that was healthy. Wondering if they're really as good as their record shows, but I think when I saw that game one, they really look good. I mean, they're
Oh,
as
they
good as
steamrolled them.
they're as good as they're advertised. I mean, I was kind of disappointed with how Dallas came out, I mean, Kyrie didn't have a good game, so that kind of skewed things a little bit. But I don't know. I think Dallas will come back tonight and play a better game. But I think if Boston plays the way they've played, I don't know if it's going to be close. I don't know if the series is going to be close. I was thinking the series was going to go 6 or 7. I'm starting to wonder now. I mean, we'll see tonight, I guess. Tonight will be the telling sign, but I would think Dallas is going to get a couple games, but maybe they don't.
Boston in this playoffs has struggled in game 2 series. I can't imagine that Kyrie Irving's going to play like he did in game 1. Luka was the best player on the floor
Yep.
for both teams. So you'd have to think he's going to continue to play well. But I said earlier, if Porzingis plays in that series, Boston is a much better team because he's just a matchup nightmare. In game 1, he was a stud.
Right.
But I think the Celtics are deeper. They
Yeah.
cruised through the regular season. I think they won the East by 15 games
Yeah,
or
it wasn't even close.
some crazy number. And then, they beat an injured Pacers team. I still say if the Knicks were healthy and they had a Julius Randle, I think the Knicks could have gave them a series. But, credit Boston. I've said it before. I love Brad Stevens. I think Brad Stevens is a
Oh, he's
star.
done a phenomenal job there. It's amazing.
I still would love to see him back coaching, but
we talked about this last week. I don't know if you'll see that again. I don't think
I don't
he's
either.
not going back to the college game, even though that's where I would love to see him go back to the college game. But like everyone's getting out of the college game. I mean, all these coaches are getting out of the college game because you're better off coaching in the NBA because you're doing the same thing because now you're with all this NIL stuff, you're doing more non-basketball stuff than you are basketball stuff. So most of these coaches want to coach. They don't want to go out and have to do all this recruiting and not know their team for every year in and year out. Whereas at least with the NBA, you lock these guys up for a couple of years. You know what team you have. You have a new team every year now in college basketball, which could be a good thing. I mean, if you struggle one year, you can go into the portal and grab the guys you need to grab. So I guess that's good.
I mean,
I think it's
look
different.
at Danny Hurley. So Danny Hurley's going to get, they're saying rumor is going to be over $100 million to coach the Lakers.
So 8-year deal.
I think I don't know. I think he should wait because I think the Knicks are going to come calling when Tom Thibodeau, either they get rid of him or something happens. And I think he wants the Knicks job. But here's my whole thought on this. I think you take the Lakers job. I don't think it's an attractive job because you got an older LeBron, which you're probably going to get Bronny. Now, I think Danny Hurley can coach Bronny with his background. But here's my thought. If he goes to the NBA and loses his first 2 years and he gets fired, he's going to get all that money paid to him. He'll have any college job he wants.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like this whole deal with the Lakers is I keep hearing them talk about they want a program built. So they want to bring it. That's why they want to give him a long-term deal. Well, they want to give him a long-term deal because they want to attract him there because he's not going to go there knowing that he can get fired in 2 years. So he wants a long-term deal so that he can come in there and build his system and build his. And this isn't about LeBron. This is about the post-LeBron era. So I think what they're looking at is okay, maybe LeBron's here for another year or two, but we're bringing in this coach to develop the future of the Lakers. So I think he's got more time. I don't think whether he does well or not. I mean, if he does well, obviously he's going to be there for a while. But if he doesn't, I think he's still going to be there for a while. I think they want to build a program around his style of coaching. So I think he's going to have at least if he gets an 8-year deal, I think he's safe for at least 5 to 6 years.
So let me ask you this. So his first 2 years, and listen, I was never a huge Danny Hurley fan. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a lunatic on the court.
Yes.
But it seems like his players respect him. I've heard the documentaries on him about, the practices are tough. He's on guys holding people. Like, I'm good with that.
Yep.
From what I hear, they keep saying like his offense that he ran is an NBA style. Like they say he's basically like an offensive coordinator and his style will translate.
It'll translate really well to the NBA because there's a lot of motion and a lot of things going on. But I don't know. My question is how does he transition his coaching style to the NBA guys? Because these NBA guys are not going to respond to
No,
this guy,
no.
this lunatic screaming. I mean, that's just he can do it in college.
Yeah, it's not going to
It's
happen
not
in
going
the
to happen
NBA.
in NBA. So he's going to have to change. And it's like, well, if you're bringing in this guy, I know you're bringing him in for his offensive stats and stuff, but at the same time, like he's going to have to change. And I think he knows that. He knows that. I don't think you're going to have the same Danny Hurley that you see in college. You can't.
I think
But if you
Hurley's
do that,
just.
are you changing the coach? You know, are you changing? Isn't that why he's good at what he does in college?
I think Danny Hurley is good for college basketball. I
100%.
think, he's got another good team coming back.
Yeah, he's
It's
loaded.
it's hard to three-peat. It's hard to be back-to-back national champs. What they did this past season, how they cruised. I think they were plus 18.5 or something
Yeah, it
throughout the
was
whole
crazy.
bat. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And people said, well, that Connecticut team could probably beat, some of the NBA teams. And I don't think so.
No, I don't
I'm
see.
not a big fan of that, even when they say like, the best college football team can beat the worst
No,
NFL team. No, they can't.
no, he can't. No.
They're all professionals.
Right.
It's not going to happen. But I think he takes the job. I
I
think
think
he
so too.
takes the job. I think he gets an 8-year, $100 million deal because again, if he wants to leave, he's got any college job he wants.
Yep.
He's won the national title during the NIL era.
Yep.
Like there's nothing more for why manage and go through the headaches of the NIL. I mean, Jim Boeheim got out, Roy Williams got out,
Right.
Coach K got out. Like it's crazy now.
It is. It
Like
is.
why do you
Like I
want
said,
those
the
headaches?
only good thing about the NIL is that you're not stuck with a team that stinks because okay, going in, all right, we had a bad season. We need a point guard. You're going to go get a point guard.
Right.
Not
Right.
that's the beauty of it. Where before it was like, yeah, you're still trying to do that, but your recruiting it was a little different. It took you a while to develop that kid. Now you're just going to get the pieces you need. So all these teams should be able to compete pretty quickly because you can just go out and get the guys that you need. I mean, yeah, it's still competitive because you're not going to be able to. Not all schools are going to be able to get the top guys. But I think it levels the playing field a little bit because now it's like, well, if you're struggling, you could just go get the guys that you need to make your team better right away.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like to me, it's like that was always the beauty of college is that you have these guys, and I know it changed over the years where you had these one and dones and stuff, but you always had a couple of guys that were the core of your team, and you can build around that, and that's kind of what is gone from, like you can't look at these teams anymore and know the guys that are there because they're there for a year and they're gone, and or I don't know. That's the part I don't like about it. I think the good teams are still good. I mean, you look at Duke; they're bringing in more guys now because they're Duke. But they're always going to bring in the guys that they recruit. But now they can go in and add these small little pieces that they need when things don't work out. So they're going to get even better.
I mean, from his side, he's an East Coast guy, and now you're going to the West Coast.
Yep.
It'll be a family decision.
Well, his wife is the biggest factor I've been hearing because she's an East Coast girl and
Yep.
she doesn't want to go out to the West Coast. But listen, when you it's
I
easy
mean,
to
it is.
it's easy to convince the wife. You got Rodeo Drive down there, honey. You got a lot of shopping you could do. We can get you back home if you need to.
I mean, it
She'll be
is
all
the
right.
Lakers, right? I mean, it is
Right.
a historical
Right. It doesn't get much bigger than that.
franchise. I mean,
No, it
it's
doesn't
the
get
Lakers.
right.
Connecticut can't offer him what the Lakers are going to offer him.
No.
I was told from a bunch of sources that there'll probably be an announcement today or first thing tomorrow that he flew down there for the weekend. He came back and they said, think about it.
Yep.
If you're his players, and some of those players came back, and in one of the practices this week, he addressed it with the team and said he is talking to the Lakers, and they went about their business. But for the players that came back potentially to play for him and chase that, because now if he leaves, I think they can enter the portal.
They can. They got 30 days.
So it's like some of those guys that might have been 50-50 going to the NBA, now they come back and he leaves.
They're all leaving.
They're all gone.
There's going to be like the next phase. Like coaches got to be salivating right now, thinking that he's going to leave, because if he leaves, there's a lot of teams that are going to get some great players. Great. I mean, think about it. Like, everything is kind of like this is the point of the time where everything kind of settles down now, because everyone now the only way you can transfer out now, because the portal's closed, right, is if a coach leaves, then you have the 30 days to enter the portal. So now's the time where the portal is kind of quieted down. So now everybody kind of has their team set, because they've all went shopping in the portal, got their guys, got their team set, and all of a sudden the portal is going to open up again with a bunch of Connecticut guys. I mean, it's going to be like Christmas for some
So
teams.
my question is, if he goes to the NBA, who's the next coach?
At
UConn.
UConn?
I think there'll be a lot of big name guys. I mean, I've already heard Bruce Pearl's name mentioned for the job.
Pearl's name mentioned, yeah.
I heard what's his name? The actor's kids. Is it Steve Murray's kid?
Oh, not Steve Murray, but
it's not Steve Murray. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. You're thinking of Steve McMurray.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. What the hell's his first name now?
I know. I can't think of it. I'm drawing a blank. But his son, somebody mentioned his son, that the kids like him. But they would get a big name. I don't know. Does Rick Pitino leave St. John's and flip it and go to UConn? I don't know.
But that's the thing, though. UConn, all of a sudden that UConn job is. I mean, yeah, everyone would want it. It's a great job, but they go from the top of the mountain to. I don't think they're good anymore after that. After he leaves, because all the kids are leaving. It's not the same UConn job after he leaves.
I mean, look at Coach Cal in Kentucky, right? He has, I mean, his one and dones with the high school kids, and he had some good seasons at Kentucky, but the standard of Kentucky was Final Fours and national championship. And he said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go somewhere where I'm going to be a god again. I'm not going to have as much pressure. All those kids from Kentucky basically went to Arkansas. Arkansas is going to be really good. So I think with the portal now, and we talk about it with college football, you can build a team pretty quick.
Yeah, you can. I mean, at the end of the day, though, I mean, you think the portal is good or bad for college sports?
I really have been back and forth on this. I'm good when the coach leaves. I'm not good when. So if you take the Joe Burrow piece, Joe Burrow was a third string quarterback at Ohio State. Wasn't playing, transfers, goes on to win the Heisman Trophy, national championship, first pick in the NFL draft. The rest is history.
Right.
The only thing I don't like about it is a young coach, youth coach here. I don't think it teaches the kids the right way. I think it teaches the kids that when the going gets tough, instead of like stepping up and playing harder, practicing harder, pushing yourself, you're basically teaching the young kids, I'm out. I'm going somewhere else.
If you don't like the coach, tells you, just go somewhere else.
And I mean, listen, I get it. If when Pitino or Coach Cal left, the portal should open. Those kids that came to play for him should be able to leave.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
But even now, I mean, you get guys to play 1 year, have a good season, then it's like, all right, next year, where am I going to play next? Okay, the next year, where am I going to play next? Like, I don't like that.
Well, there's some kids that have played on. I mean, not even like two teams. They played on multiple. I mean, right? I mean, can't you actually be? You could probably transfer every year if you wanted to, right?
I forget the school, and when we're done today, I'm going to look it up. There was a college football player that is going on his seventh year of eligibility. Has played for 7 different teams.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But as a coach, though, like, throughout the season, you have to be worried about, like, okay, this kid's not playing much. The kid's a 5-star or whatever. I'm probably going to lose him. Like, you have to be thinking about that stuff throughout the entire season.
Right. Or before, it's like you had these guys and you can think about, like, you can say, okay, you got a 5-star recruit. He's probably going to be playing. But if he's not doing well right now, you sit him for a little bit, develop him a little bit more so that you know that he's going to come back stronger and better. You can't do that now. You don't have that opportunity now. You don't have that time now because, like you said, you sit Joey. Joey's not happy. He's out of there. He's
Right.
going somewhere else because there's going to be some other coach that's going to be telling him, "Listen, you'll be starting here. You're not going to be sitting the bench here." And that's what the kids want. That's all the kids want to hear, and that's why, like us as coaches, we've all these coaches, college coaches, have been saying it. You keep hearing kids are different nowadays. Kids are different nowadays. It's like we've done this to them. The adults have done it to them. Like we've created this problem. I mean, we blame the kids and we say the kids are different. The kids are just a product of what's been built, right? I mean, we've allowed this to happen because of all the things that have occurred in society where,
Well,
you
everybody
just
gets
jump to another AAU team. You see it at all levels now, right? You see it at these kids. But before, you played basketball. Let's take basketball for an example. You played basketball. You played for your high school team. You played for an AAU team, but that was a team that you played for, and it was probably a bunch of your high school friends that played. Now it's like, on Saturday you're playing for one AAU team, and then you're playing for another AAU team on Sunday, and then next weekend you might play for the other. You might not play for the team that you started for because the coach didn't play you enough, so you don't like being on that team anymore. So you're going to join another team. We've created this problem, and I don't know how it changes. I don't know because it filters back to the high school teams, because now the high school team is what it is. The coach doesn't have much. You can't transfer out, right, for the most part. And so now these kids come to back to high school and they're like, "Oh, I don't like the coach. I don't the coach." And they question the coach and they give attitude. And then what can the coach do? He can sit the player, right? But then it just creates problems on your team. And I think all coaches are facing this kind of stuff nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in high school, first of all, we didn't have any AAU stuff. You played for your high school, and that was it. And even baseball, Pete. Like when I played, and I've talked about this a lot. We have on the radio for a long time. But when I was in high school, it meant more to wear the high school jersey.
Right.
Like in baseball nowadays, like there's kids that get more excited to play Smith Post Legion baseball than they do for RFA.
Right.
And again, I'm not knocking that, but back in the day, it was you took a lot of pride in the jersey you wore, in high school. But now, like, you can go play Legion ball. They didn't have that for that long when I played basketball. You can go play in all these AAU teams. But the problem that I didn't really like about the AAU scene, and you're a basketball coach, and I kind of lived this the last couple of years with my son at the lower, 5th and 6th grade AAU stuff, is, I like the fact that Coach Medicis has the Rome kids playing together.
I agree. That's the way to do it.
Like, I think it's a good idea, but I also will say this, like, for the kids, they don't see it because we played some really good teams and we won a lot of good games this year. We lost some good games too to some good teams. But when you try to tell young kids you're playing against teams that are basically all-star teams.
All-star teams, yep.
They're just saying, I'm going to go get the 10 best players and we're going to go play in tournaments and we're going to go beat teams, this and that. Right. So I don't think a lot of the young kids understand that you're playing with your own kids, and as you get older,
right, you're making your team better.
You're making the teams better. But you look at some of these AAU teams, I mean, they're all money pits.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Again, you and I have said, like, and I've told Nick this, and he knows this, I think you need more practice time.
Yep. That's what they do overseas, right?
The kids don't know the fundamentals of the game. You pay the money to go play, and you go play in a tournament. Like I got Coach St. Croix messaged me over the weekend, said, you guys want to come play in a tournament? And it's just like, first of all, I couldn't, because a lot of the guys are playing baseball, but there's the lack of actually understanding the game, developing players. Because I think our kids, my team, I think we took a step backwards, but I think we played really well the last couple months of the season. But, you think about it, Pete, we only would practice 2 days a week for an hour and a half.
Right. That's not enough.
And then you go play games.
Right.
In an hour and a half, I mean, you got to work some skills.
Right.
You got to work a press break. You got to work your press. You got to work your offense against the zone.
Yeah.
And the kids are bored because they don't want to do that.
No, they don't want to do it.
They want to scrimmage.
They want to just go out and play. And That's the AAU culture, because that's why everyone wants to play AAU, because there is no practices really. I mean, some of these AAU teams don't even practice because, like you said, they're pulling kids from different schools. So it's like, just come join us on Saturday and we're playing this AAU tournament. And of course they're going to be good. If you pull all the athletes from the Utica Rome area and create an all-star team, yeah, you're going to win games. Of course, you're going to win games. And of course, those kids are going to get better because they're playing basketball. So you're going to get better automatically. But then they're going to go back to the original teams, and the other guys didn't play with you. So you get better as a team. I'm a believer in, yes, individuals get better by you get better by playing. The more you play, the better you're going to get. But you also need to practice as a team, because there's a lot that goes on. I mean, you can have the greatest player in the world, and then he plays on all these AAU teams. Then he comes back to his high school team. There's no chemistry. There's no nothing. So that's why I think you see Rome teams, that Knicks teams, do so well in league play and in the high school scene, because all his kids have been playing together for so long. It's seamless. They've worked out the kinks, where all the other teams are working out the kinks right in front of you during games, where Knicks teams have worked out the kinks throughout the years because they've played together. And that's huge. I mean, that's why, look at him every year. I mean, they're competitive every year. They're beating big teams, big schools. I mean, they're going out, like you said, to Iona and winning big games out there. That's what makes you a good program, and that's the difference between a lot of these schools. Is like, there's basketball teams and there's programs. Knicks built the program.
Yeah, and I think football was kind of the same way, like at the youth level. I mean, I lived it this past year with Pop Warner, and the kids had a really good season. But trying to orchestrate and organize a practice where you're working on position drills, you're
Yep.
working on drills that you're going to use in a game, and these kids, all they wanted to do was go like offense against defense. They wanted to go like a full live,
Right.
team period, like every day, and just run plays, run
Right.
plays, run plays. And I think, again, at all those levels, I think we lost a lot of that,
Yep.
to where I think the kids are way behind compared to what it was years ago. As far as, I think there's a lot of talent. I don't think the talent now is as good as it was years ago, and some people will argue with me with that. But
I
I think
agree.
I think the coaching was different years ago than what it is now. I don't think we have enough good coaches, and when I say good coaches, a lot of the good coaches don't want to coach
Nope.
because mom and dad, going to go talk to the athletic director. They're going to yell at you. I mean, shit, I had people at youth hoop that probably to this day would probably have my picture on a dartboard throwing darts at me because they didn't like
Right.
the way I
Like,
coach.
because most the coach. I'm a believer in the good coaches are the coaches that work the players hard to get the most out of them, right? And there's different coaches that have different ways of doing that, right? But nowadays, that's the problem, is if it gets hard, the kid's going to go back to mom and dad and complain. And then mom and dad's going to come back and say, oh, my son's saying that the coach is too hard on him. And then someone's going to come talk to the coach.
Mhm.
And then most coaches are like, listen, this is how I coach you. I'm going to coach your kid hard. If you don't like it, too bad. And that doesn't work nowadays, because the minute you say that, oh, we got to get rid of this coach because he's not listening to the parents. Well, every parent nowadays thinks that their kid is the next LeBron James, Michael Jordan, who's going to get a scholarship. Sorry, not every kid's like that, and that's okay. It's okay for your kid to be what he is, and listen, if you're getting the most out of that kid, that's all you can ask for, right? If you're giving me the most, and your most is the best we can get out of you, is you're a guy who's going to come off the bench and give us a couple points, or play some defense for us. That's what you're good at. That's what I need you to do. If you're giving me that, then that's as good as it's going to get for that kid, and that's okay. Not every kid. I mean, look at the NBA. Not every guy's LeBron James, right? I mean, you got support players. That's how it is, and people just don't understand that, and it's
Pete, I've
frustrating as a
never,
coach.
I've people always take this the wrong way when I say this, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but we have a lot of good athletes in this area. We don't have a lot of great athletes
I agree.
in this area, and it's not knocking anybody.
No,
If you can
what it is.
play at any level, Division One, Division Two, Division Three, NAIA, junior, whatever level. If you can play a sport in college, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, that's great. It's a
There's a
huge
lot of
accomplishment.
Yep, there's a lot of good Division III schools, but some of the best athletes in our area that have went on to play even at Division III have struggled,
Yep.
um, and have found out that it's not that easy at any level.
No.
I mean,
Well,
even some of the really, really good ones that we've had
right.
didn't play at Division I level.
No.
It's
And
it's hard.
even the ones that you have, like I mean, once in a while you have a Division I athlete that goes play division, but look at what they've done. They haven't even made it to the top of the top because it's hard, man. Like playing Division I is it's you don't realize how good those players are at the Division I level. Even at D3. I mean, like you said, a lot of the I was just talking to a kid who works for the Diamond Dogs. He's an intern. Big kid, like he played for Little Falls. And just a mammoth of a kid. The size is huge. He went to I want to say St. John Fisher, but that's not right. Wherever he went to play football. And he goes, I walked in there. He goes, and I was looking up the guys because I couldn't believe how big these kids were.
Mhm.
I'm like, and he said that, and he's a great athlete, but it's different, man. Like these people are, a lot of these schools you go to, even you go to Utica College, you see some of these kids play, and they're just massive, massive.
The other thing that really changes for the high school kid is when you actually go to any level, a Division I schedule, like it's your life.
Yeah,
Like when I mean it's your life, like my day started off at 7 o'clock in the morning, a study hall from 7 to 9 or 7 to 8:30, whatever it was. Then we'd go to breakfast. Then we would go to our positional meetings in the morning. Then we would go to classes. We'd get out of classes at 2 o'clock and we'd go to positional meetings, then our defensive meetings. Then we'd go to practice. When practice got done, we'd go to team dinner, and then we had our positional. I didn't get back to my room
yeah.
until close to 9, 10 o'clock, and then had to do homework.
I was gonna say, when did you guys study?
Right. So that was my life for 4 years. And I can tell you, there were a lot of times I said to myself, do I want to do this?
Right.
Because
Because
it,
you gotta
it,
be
it,
you
it
gotta be so into it that you just love it that it doesn't it's gotta be part of your life. And it's not for everybody, man.
no, it's not. And I'm just putting on here. Let's see. We got a comment from,
Yeah, I see the Utica Yetis have a comment, right?
yeah, we got to get them on here. It was fun to talk some box lacrosse. We got to see if maybe next weekend we can make that happen.
Yeah, and they have lacrosse. Did that lacrosse lacrosse championships already happen, or are they happening soon?
I
I know that's
Yeah, I'd
yeah,
have to check, but they had a great year last year.
yeah,
They're young this year, I believe, but we'll have to see if we can get Coach on. But he says some of the best athletes made the choices to not go to college. That is very true.
that's true. Yeah,
That is very college isn't for everybody, right?
right.
Oh, he's saying September.
September.
Okay, good to know. So
Yeah,
Pete,
have them on next week or something. They can join us.
yeah, we'll have to see if they can jump on. That'd be great to talk some box lacrosse. Yankees, Dodgers. Yanks got handed to them last night, but they got some good news from Soto.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I was at my son's game, and it was they were down 2-1, and then it was 2-2, and then you told me at the bar that they lost
Yeah,
11-2 or something. Like, what happened?
yeah, I didn't see some of the highlights, but uh, the best news, even though they lost, like people
Yes.
got to slow down because they're off to a good start.
Yep.
Like that might be a preview of the World Series, Yanks Dodgers. It would be great
Yeah.
for
Let's
the
not
markets, right?
jump
So
ahead too
just
far.
slow down. They still have what 100 and something games left to
Slow down.
play.
Right.
But the positive news, I think, has got to be Soto's forearm.
Yep.
I guess he just said what it's a strain.
Strain. Yeah, that was big news.
So that's good news.
And
But I forget, Pete. He's
Cole's
only what,
Cole's
23
doing
years
his
old?
minor league stint, so it looks like he's going to be back soon.
Soto is what, Pete? They said 23, 24 years old.
24, I believe.
I didn't know he was that young.
Yeah, he's really young. That's why they got to lock him up, man.
And I heard a crazy stat line on him from last year that he played in all 162 games.
Oh, really?
That's
I
what I
know that.
heard. I don't know how that's possible, but I guess Cal Ripken played in what, over 2,000 games?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Iron Man?
the Iron Man.
But no, it'd be
That's incredible for nowadays. I mean, nowadays that's unheard of. I mean, you look at these NBA guys; they can't play 3 games in a row without load management.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Like it's like, listen, this is your. I get it. If you're hurt, you can't play. But hurt nowadays is different than what we were used to, right? Like hurt. You had guys playing through the flu. You had guys playing through broken bones and injuries. These guys, like, they stubbed their toe and they're out of the game for 3 quarters. You know
Well, I
what I
mean,
mean?
even the pitchers, like years ago, I mean, Nolan Ryan would throw 100 and something pitches, then come back a day or 2 days later and pitch again.
Yep.
And now these guys that are on, the work management, the pitching. I mean, what they say, Garrett Cole was on like 50 pitch count for a limit.
Yeah. See, this is the thing I don't understand, and I get it because the times have changed, right? These guys throw harder, they're stronger. So I get the velocity and the torque on your arm is probably more than it used to be,
Yep.
but I don't know. Like, there's got to be something more to these guys getting injured than, I mean, because now you have guys that don't pitch a lot, right? And they're getting hurt more, right? So it's like it's got to be mechanics or something, because how can Nolan Ryan pitch? I mean, he threw hard, right? He threw hard,
Oh,
but like
absolutely.
when you see him though, like Nolan Ryan looks different than a guy who in today's game who throws hard. You know what I mean? You take a Garrett Cole and a Nolan Ryan, they're built differently, but they both throw hard. So what's the difference? It seems to me like, maybe I'm old school. I don't know. Like the old guys were more kind of like finesse in how they pitched. It was a smoother. I don't know what it is. You know what I
all,
mean?
all I can think about is the movie Major League with the old guy that's in the dugout smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Goes out and he was drinking and all that. But it's like nowadays, I mean, these guys make millions,
Right.
right?
Their
You can't
bodies are like machines.
Yeah, the bodies are different. I mean, I get it. Look at Soto, 23, 24 years old. I mean, making 100 something million. Like, he's a dude, man. I mean, you
Yeah, he is.
he's just without him in that lineup, the lineup looks so much different.
Well, the lineup looks this year. They're all everyone's kind of. I mean, you have Volpe now. You have Judge, who are all contributing and hitting them and hitting.
Hmm.
And that was one of the things even before Soto, when you saw that, you're like, if these guys can hit like we know they can, that's a pretty dangerous lineup. And now that's happening. And I'm sure down the road at some point when they all hit a slump, we're like, oh my God, this lineup's terrible. Look at nobody can hit. That's baseball though, right? Baseball goes through ups and
Oh
downs. And
yeah,
it's like we have that team is loaded. I think this is one of the best jobs that Cashman has done over the years in building a lineup that it's not full of guys that are old guys. I mean, yeah, you have a couple veterans in there, and they're gonna struggle here and there, but like he's really put a group of guys together that they can hit the ball, and they gotta do their job now, right? I mean, and they're doing it. And
I
it's
just I just think it's nice to see you have guys in a lineup that are hitting 280,
yep,
270,
yep,
290. You still got your guys that are hitting 210, 215. But I feel like last year when you looked at that lineup, it's like 215, 220,
yeah. There were a lot
210,
of 215s and 220 last
you
year.
know, 180, but you're getting good production at the top. But it makes it nice for some of these other guys when you have the 2 through 5 in that lineup that it's like, who do you pitch to?
Right.
Like Judge had one of the best Mays, I think, 17 home runs or 20 home
Yeah,
runs in a month of May.
it was
And
insane.
if you don't pitch to him, you got to pitch to Soto.
Right. And knock on wood, he's been healthy, which has been his problem that over the last couple of years, is that he's been unhealthy. He's had the toe issue, he's had other issues. He's been healthy, and now you're seeing what a healthy Judge can do. I mean, and you're right. Like, if you're a pitcher, the first couple of guys in that lineup are getting on base, and then you got these guys that are coming up afterwards. Like, they're gonna, even if somebody strikes out, some of these guys are gonna bring these runs home because there's so much power in that middle of that lineup.
Yeah,
So
I heard next year they might start transitioning Judge to play first base
yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
to get him out of the outfield.
And they
Maybe
got another guy in the minor leagues who's coming up that they could probably put in the outfield. I can't
But
think of his name.
he plays such a good outfield.
He does. He's got. I
Lives-
mean, the arm that he has. I mean, to get that ball in so quickly. I mean, right now that outfit looks. I mean, who would have thought? We would have talked about Verdugo out there with Soto and Judge, but it's a heck of an outfield.
Yeah, Utica Yeti has a nice comment here that we've talked about. P says the game isn't what it was when we were kids. Kids played multiple sports. Now kids are one sport players.
Yep.
And he's 100% right. I mean, we talked about that for years. I think now with, if you want to play baseball all year, you can play baseball. You want to play basketball, you can play basketball. You want to play lacrosse, you can play lacrosse. You take,
Football, there's even football leagues now that you
yeah.
can do.
I mean, you take Accelerate, you take Elevate. I mean, you take all these indoor sports like they didn't have those when I played.
No, like
And
when you
I'm
played, like you said, you went from sport to sport. You went from
Yep.
season to season. You finished your football season. You went on through your next season, your baseball season, and it just continued until you got to the summer. And then summer was kind of like, sometimes you played probably a baseball league or something to keep you going. But
yeah, it's definitely a lot different now than what it was. That's for sure.
and I think like even the kids playing, right? Yes, they're playing more. Like, okay, so if you're playing baseball, you're playing more baseball games, you're playing more basketball games, but you're not, like you said, you're not working on the little things, right? You're not doing those drills. It's not like you're practicing every day. You're just playing games, which again, playing games is going to make you better automatically. But you're not working on the skills that you need to. And that's what was happening with you guys when you were playing sports, because you're playing your varsity football season, you're playing games, but you're practicing every day. Then you go on to your basketball season and your baseball season. You're playing games every whatever it is every day, but then you're practicing every day. And that continued all season long. So all season long, from the beginning of your school year to the end of your school year, you were practicing. You were probably in practice every day. You either had practice or a game in some type of sport. Nowadays, you don't have that. Nowadays, you're in a lot of games. Your game total is up there because you're playing 3 games on Saturday, you're playing 2 games on Sunday, but you're not practicing. So
Yeah,
your game count is up, but your practice count is down.
and I think if you talk to a lot of college coaches, I mean, Coach Hand was just at my dad's house a few weeks ago, and still was talking about the college coaches, like the 3-sport athletes that can do different things. And I'll say this though, at the young age, like my son's 12, so he'll be going in the 7th grade next year, and there's some of his buddies that just play like one sport. Like you can tell that they just play the one sport. I mean, they've gotten significantly better, at baseball than some of the other kids, but I'll always take the 3-sport athlete any day of the week.
Yeah, because that athlete looks different.
It's a different athlete. If you play 3 sports, you can transition. You're not going to lose that much going into your other sport. Christ, I remember, football season in high school, we'd always play till November. And then there were times when football season got done 1 week, 2 days later, I started basketball season.
Yep.
So I went right from football right into basketball season. And, condition wise was tough, but it was almost like I never lost a beat.
Yeah,
Because those other sports are
I
helping
remember
you.
seeing the football players coming to basketball practice after games and stuff, or after practices and stuff. So nowadays you don't see that. Nowadays the football players are the football players. They don't like. That's the thing. We you don't see, like I said it a couple of times that even in Notre Dame, it's a small school. Like you see some of these kids on the baseball team that are tall and or on the football team that are tall. You're like, where were these kids during basketball season?
Yep.
They don't play basketball. They're baseball kids. That's how they get tagged. They're like, oh, I'm a football kid. I play football. It's like, okay, but you can also play another sport to help you get better at the sport that you really want to be, playing. But
No, absolutely. Well, Pete, we're out of time. I'll have to try. We still got time before the 4th of July to get George Shea on there. So
yeah, I know
I'll
he's a
make,
busy guy, so it's tough to get him on.
but we'll make sure that he's come on with us every year. So we'll
Yeah,
make it
we'll get him.
happen. But appreciate you jumping on. Always good to have you on Sunday morning with us. Hopefully, we'll have the whole gang back here next week. But keep in touch this week.
All right. Sounds good, man.
All right, man. Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.
So I'll make sure that we get back in touch with George Shea. He's been on the show with us now, I think, for like the last 5 years. He's been on with us, and he's always kind enough to come on. He is the president of Shea Communications, which is one of the largest PR companies in the country. He's down in New York City. He is the voice of Coney Island. If you watch the hot dog eating contest and you actually watch the introductions, that's him. So we'll reach out again. I'll make sure I post when we'll have him on again. So on behalf of the entire crew here at the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch, on behalf of myself, Coach Pags, Coach Medesis, and the Statman, enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. We'll see you again next Sunday here on the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch.